Imagine waking suddenly to loud knocking echoing violently through your narrow, dark hallway. Your wife and children are still asleep, unaware of what comes next for all of you. The door bursts open violently before you can even stand up properly to react. Men in dark robes step inside slowly, their faces hidden completely in unnatural shadows. They accuse you of heresy without explanation, without evidence, without hesitation, without mercy. You try desperately to speak, but they already decided your fate long beforehand. It is the year 1485 in the city of Toledo, Spain, under suffocating silence. One of the most feared centers of the Inquisition operates here without question. The heavy iron door creaks open slowly, and you feel the cold air rush violently into the chamber. Shadows shift uneasily along the damp stone walls as unseen figures prepare silently to decide your fate. A voice echoes coldly through the room, calm yet carrying absolute, unchallenged, merciless authority. I am Dr. Lucius, your time travel guide through this suffering. Tonight, we travel back to Spain in the year 1485 to witness the Inquisition's darkest, most unforgiving interrogations. What happens next is not chaos, but a carefully structured process of suffering. This was not rare, and it was not accidental or chaotic in any sense. This was the system of the Inquisition, designed to control belief, obedience, and fear. It spread across Europe, leaving behind stories that still disturb historians deeply today. But here is what most people still fail to understand completely, even now. The goal was not simply punishment, but something far more terrifying and deliberate. The goal was confession, regardless of actual guilt, truth, or innocence. And to achieve that goal, they pushed human limits far beyond imagination or mercy. Let us step deeper into one of those interrogation chambers below. The air feels heavy, thick with smoke, sweat, fear, and silent dread. Chains hang from the ceiling, slightly moving with unseen drafts and subtle metallic echoes. You are brought inside roughly, hands tied tightly, surrounded by silent, observing figures. A man steps forward slowly, speaking with calm and controlled, emotionless authority. He explains that truth will save your soul from eternal and unimaginable damnation. You hesitate briefly because you know you have done nothing wrong at all. That hesitation alone is enough to begin what comes next without delay. The chamber walls seem to breathe slowly, absorbing every scream without echo or mercy. You realize quickly that no sound escapes this place, no plea reaches beyond these walls. One of the most infamous methods was known as the rack torture device. It appeared simple, almost harmless at first glance, like a wooden frame with rollers. But its true purpose was to stretch the human body mercilessly beyond natural limits. Your wrists are tied tightly, your ankles secured without any mercy or adjustment. A guard begins turning the wheel slowly, almost gently and deliberately at first. You feel tension building inside your joints and muscles immediately and uncontrollably. At first, it feels painful, but soon becomes something far worse than pain. Time loses meaning here, replaced by cycles of pain, silence, and whispered demands. Every movement feels watched, measured, and judged by unseen and indifferent observers. Your shoulders begin to dislocate with a sickening, internal tearing sensation deep inside. The interrogator calmly asks again if you are ready to confess your sins. You scream that you are innocent, but the wheel keeps turning relentlessly without pause. Bones crack audibly, tendons tear apart, and your body stops feeling like yours. Eventually, most victims confessed simply to end the unbearable and endless agony. Truth no longer mattered once pain reached that unbearable and inescapable level. Your body becomes evidence, your pain a language they understand completely. Mercy is never offered freely, only suggested as a reward for surrender. But the rack was only one method among many terrifying, calculated tools. Another brutal technique was known as the strappado execution method. This method relied not on stretching, but sudden, violent downward force applied deliberately. Your hands are tied behind your back, cutting circulation quickly and painfully. A rope is attached, lifting your entire body slowly into the air above ground. For a moment, there is silence, suspended between fear, dread, and anticipation. Then suddenly, you are dropped, only to be stopped mid-fall by force. Your shoulders absorb the shock, dislocating almost instantly with unbearable intensity. The pain is sharp, explosive, and nearly impossible to describe in human language. Some victims fainted immediately, while others remained conscious throughout the entire process. Water or force would revive you if unconsciousness occurred during the procedure. Every confession feeds the system, reinforcing its power and unchallenged authority. The interrogators never rush, because suffering is most effective when stretched endlessly. Again, the same question follows every cycle of unbearable and repeated suffering. Will you confess, or will this continue until your body breaks completely apart? And many people confessed, even to crimes they never committed in reality.
But physical pain was not the only weapon used effectively by the Inquisition. Psychological torture played an equally devastating and calculated role during interrogations. Imagine being placed alone in complete darkness for extended periods without end. No sound, no light, no sense of time passing at all anymore. Days and weeks blur together, and your mind begins creating its own fears. You start questioning your memories, your beliefs, even your sense of reality. When they finally return, you are no longer the same person you once were. Your thoughts betray you, twisting memories into something uncertain and unreliable. You begin to wonder if innocence itself has any meaning in this place. At that point, confession becomes not just escape, but a desperate form of relief. There were also methods designed specifically to humiliate victims deeply and permanently. One procedure involved forcing individuals into painful stress positions for endless hours. Your muscles shake uncontrollably, your body begging to collapse entirely under strain. But guards ensure you remain upright, prolonging the suffering deliberately without compassion. Even silence is punished here, interpreted as resistance or hidden defiance. Hope becomes dangerous, a fragile illusion that only deepens inevitable despair. In some cases, water torture was used to simulate drowning sensations convincingly. You are restrained while water is poured continuously over your face without pause. Your body reacts violently, convinced that it is about to die helplessly. You try to breathe, but every attempt brings more panic instead of relief. Your lungs burn, your mind races, and control disappears completely under terror. Eventually, survival becomes the only goal, no matter the cost or consequence. Again, the same demand echoes through the chamber repeatedly without emotion. Confess, and this suffering will finally come to an end for you. It sounds simple, but under such conditions, resistance collapses quickly and completely.
What makes this system even more disturbing is its cold organization. Everything followed procedures, rules, and a sense of official sanctioned legitimacy. Records were kept carefully, documenting confessions and punishments in disturbing detail. This was not random cruelty, but organized and systematic pressure applied with precision.
And yet, not everyone was tortured immediately after arrest and accusation. Often, the threat alone was enough to break people mentally before anything began. Knowing what awaited you could be more terrifying than experiencing it directly. Fear spread through entire communities, shaping behavior, obedience, and silent submission. Neighbors began accusing each other to avoid suspicion themselves at any cost. Trust disappeared completely, replaced by paranoia and constant underlying anxiety everywhere. The Inquisition did not only punish individuals, it reshaped society entirely through fear. Now imagine surviving such an ordeal, physically broken and mentally shattered beyond repair. You confess, even though you know your confession is completely false and forced. But for the Inquisition, confession meant the system worked correctly and efficiently. Your fate might still involve punishment, even after cooperating fully without resistance. Public penance, imprisonment, or even execution could still follow afterward regardless. In some cases, victims were paraded before crowds as examples of disobedience. Their suffering became a warning to anyone questioning authority or belief systems. Fire, in particular, became a symbol of ultimate punishment, purification, and fear. Being burned alive was not just execution, but a public and ritualized spectacle. Crowds gathered, watching as flames consumed those labeled as heretics without mercy. The message was clear, visible, and impossible for anyone to ignore or forget. Obey, conform, or face unimaginable and horrific consequences beyond comprehension. Historians today still debate the exact scale of these brutal practices worldwide, but what remains undeniable is their psychological and physical impact on humanity. The Inquisition created an environment where truth became irrelevant and dangerous. What mattered was control, order, and the illusion of religious unity above all. And torture became one of the most effective tools for maintaining that control. It forced confessions, reinforced fear, and maintained authority across entire regions efficiently. But perhaps the most disturbing part is not the methods themselves used. It is how normalized they became within that historical and cultural context. People accepted, justified, and sometimes even supported these practices openly and willingly, which raises an uncomfortable question that still matters even today in society. How far can systems go when fear overrides compassion, logic, and reason entirely? And more importantly, would people resist, or would they comply again under pressure? Because history does not only show what happened in the distant past, it also reveals what humans are capable of under certain terrifying conditions. And that is what makes the Inquisition truly terrifying, even today in memory.
The chamber fades slowly into darkness, but its memory remains vividly alive within you. What you have witnessed is not just history, but human vulnerability exposed completely. Systems like this remind us how fragile freedom truly is under pressure. I am Dr. Lucius, your time-travel guide through history's darkest depths. And I will see you in the next chapter of history.